Hello, I'm Nathan Tindel, and today I'll be telling you the story of The Hunters of the Great Forest by Dennis Nolan. I'm gearing this story toward kindergarten through second graders. Let's begin. Once upon a time, there was a small village in a great forest. The name of the village was Huntsville. Every year as the air began to cool, the village would select hunters to go on a hunt. This particular year, they selected a hunting party of 7. Heiko, Spyro, Spira, Bilbo, Sokka, Campo, and Sherlock. Heiko was the leader of the group. He carried his trusty walking stick. Campo loved to camp out, so he could always be found with his sleeping bag on his back. Sokka was the group's navigator, so she could always be found with a map. Spyro was the lookout of the group, and he was always quick to pull out his spyglass. Spira was a warrior in her younger years, but she still carried her spear around with her everywhere. Bilbo was a practical man, and he could always be found with his knapsack. And finally, Sherlock was the last member of the group. He was a careful man, and he liked to examine things up close with his magnifying glass. The hunters had a long journey ahead of them, so they continued onward and onward. When they reached the fungal tree forest, they stopped to look at the map. But Spyro spotted a giant land snail coming their way. And Sherlock was examining a good luck bug with his magnifying glass. The group decided to continue on in search of larger prey. As they left the fungal forest, a thousand-eyed dragon flew overhead, so they decided to hurry on their way. Spirit took up the rear to guard the group. But Sherlock tripped and dropped his magnifying glass. They carefully snuck past a large warthopper. But Bilbo dropped his knapsack, and Sokka dropped her map in the confusion that followed, because the hopper had in fact noticed them, and he chased them up a giant tree. Oh no, Campo stumbled and dropped his sleeping bag down the space between the roots. Unfortunately, our adventurers climbed up the tree so far that they wound up too close to the nest of a blue condor. The large bird was feeding her babies. So the condor turned and chased them away from her babies. As they ran, Spyro dropped his spyglass, and Spira tossed her spear into the air. They ran until they fell and down into a dark hole. It was so dark in the hole, but at least they were safe from the bird. That is, until they heard the noise of a large creature in the darkness with them. Quickly, they ran out of the hole, as a large toothed digger told them to stay away from their home. Unfortunately, Heiko was the last one out, and he tripped and fell, and he dropped his trusty walking stick. He quickly got up and followed the rest of his crew, but he left his walking stick behind. They ran under the roots of a giant tree. Night fell by the time they came out from under the roots of the large tree. The hunters were beginning to feel more like the hunted. Carefully, they tiptoed along, following Heiko as he indicated that he sees something up ahead. Heiko had seen the light of a great fire coming up over the roots of the tree. So he convinced the rest of the group to quietly, carefully investigate. As they peered up over the last root, they saw a fire-making giant with a large stick in her hand. She was roasting something over the fire. And whatever it was, there was a lot more of them in a bag next to the fire. Could it be? It was! These were the legendary mallows of the Great Marsh. Quietly, they managed to take one out of the bag and sneak away unnoticed. This was great. They'd managed to find the perfect prize for their hunt. As they hurried back towards their village, a pack of sand cutters tried to pursue them, but a determined Heiko managed to frighten them off. The group returned to Huntsville triumphantly to a hero's welcome. The entire town came running to see what they had brought back on the hunt. Our hunters told them the tales of the ordeals that they had been through. They built a big bonfire in the middle of town, and they took small pieces of the mallow of the Great Marsh, and they roasted them on sticks over the fire. The tale of the hunt was told for many generations. But the city of Huntsville and the people continued to be hunters of the great forest. The end.